Nico Harrison out in Dallas, and now it's looking like Anthony Davis could be next, as well as potentially Kyrie Irving, plus Klay Thompson. Almost wound up a Los Angeles Laker, and now I think he's probably regretting it. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. We say it all the time, 70% of you are not subscribed. Let's fix that. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, celebrations continue in Dallas. Nico Harrison on the way out, but now trying to figure out what's next. And it sounded like Anthony Davis will be on the way out. Before we even get into the trade stuff, though, did you see this bit from the piece from The Athletic that Nico Harrison tried to convince Anthony Davis to return despite the fact that he was at a heightened risk for a torn Achilles?
Yeah,
this is insane.
It's just terrible, dude. Like it's bad optics just all around with Nico. But this is what we knew was going to happen, right? We knew that the second that he got fired, we'd get stuff like this that just was kind of just kept hush hush, I guess. But the fact he was telling AD, "Hey, we need you, get out there." But you know what's even crazier about this also is that Davis was in alignment with that. Like,
yeah,
I don't think we say enough about, like, we always talk about, oh, street clothes, this and that, oh, his lack of durability. But the guy wants to play. He can't help that he's not able to play. But this isn't the first time he's been willing to put himself in harm's way. It happened last time he was in when he first came to Dallas, right? He really wanted to play, and he really shouldn't have, but he re-injures himself and is out for a prolonged period. But he was in alignment too.
Well, and here's the thing. So a lot of times people get mad at players for not wanting to play. A lot of times it's the medical staff or the team themselves. In this case, it was the GM who maybe felt the pressure on himself to try to, save his job here and try to win a few games, urging Anthony Davis to go return. AD agreeing with it, say, yeah, I'll return. And the medical staff had to step in and say, no, there were rumors that Patrick Dumont was also part of the conversation and not allowing him to return to the court, because you can't risk a torn Achilles for Anthony. Like, that is devastating.
No, at 30, 32, 33, also, you can't have that, man. Like, he's too valuable for that. Like, why would you risk an entire year when he probably just needs to sit for a couple of weeks? Like, just let him heal up, right? And also, I believe that's the same injury Luka had as well previously, and he was pretty mad about Luka not playing on it too, right? Yeah. So that's just, I don't understand this from Nico overall.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, if you're Patrick Dumont and you're looking at the situation, you're saying, okay, I know I'm probably going to have to get rid of this GM, and he's urging the star player that you traded Luka Doncic for. Obviously, you shouldn't have done that, but the guy you traded Luka for, and you're looking at, I'm going to need to pivot to a post-Nico Harrison world here. I'm going to have to move on from this. The last thing you want is to pivot and not have that piece, Anthony Davis, whether you're going to use him on the court or use him as a trade chip, which is now looking like where this is heading. This is also via The Athletic. The 32-year-old Davis now finds himself at the center of a league-wide speculation that he might be the next to go. He has 2 seasons left on his contract with a player option for the 27-28 season. He's eligible for a 3-year extension worth $218.5 million this summer. I can't, a Maverick or otherwise, I can't see anybody giving him that extension right now. And then Kyrie Irving could find himself in a similar situation. Dallas is incentivized to bottom out this season because they have their draft pick. It's the only one they have until 2031, or at least the only one they have control of. There's some pick swaps in there. So if you're the Mavs, you might as well move on from Anthony Davis if you can get the right value for him in return. And if you're an opposing team right now, teams have got to be having those conversations. And that's exactly what Zach Lowe said on his podcast. There's going to be Anthony Davis trade talks of some seriousness. Impossible to say whether they come to a deal, but I would bet yes. So, Donnie, everything pointing right now to the Mavs potentially completely restructuring this roster and even moving on from Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I think AD is the much more likely one to go for various reasons, but also just fan sentiment for Kyrie. They love him. I don't know if he'd be exactly on the block. And then even also, like I was telling you, he's going to come back potentially so close to the deadline. He may need time to ramp up. And if you're a team trying to trade for him, maybe you have some question marks. And if you're trading him, if you're Dallas, maybe you're trading him at a low point. With Davis, you just hope that he's healthy and makes it through that point of the season. And then at that point, he's playing really well. And then you could trade him if that's something that you're looking forward to doing. Yesterday, we were talking a lot about this, and I said they don't necessarily have to trade him to bottom out. I don't think so. But if they wanted to take that approach to this, then I think he could fetch them back a good package, right? But I think that he's got to, again, show that he's healthy for a period of time, because his Mavs tenure has just been so injury riddled. And he's had that throughout his career, but especially in this stint with the Mavs, because the season prior, he played like 76 games for the Lakers. And then he gets traded and he's just unavailable, right? So I think that is something you'd have to be concerned about. And that extension, I don't know that there's any way he gets that extension anytime soon either.
No.
9 games for the Mavs and 5 this season.
5 this season.
5 less minutes per game also. Jeez.
Yeah. So the minutes are lower. He's only played I think there's 11 Mavs games so far this season. It's 10 or 11. Yeah. He's only played in 5 games so far. Only played 9 games for them last season after the trade. Played 42 games for the Lakers prior to getting traded last season. But look, he has a long history of injuries over the course of his career. He's into his 30s now. I think that will inhibit the trade market for him to some degree. And so what he'll be able to fetch in a trade will be interesting to watch, especially since everything is going to be viewed through the lens of, and it's not quite accurate, because remember, the Lakers gave up Max Christie too, who's a valuable piece. They took back Maxi Kleber, who that is a costly contract to move off of. They also gave up a first-round pick. But whatever the Mavs get for AD will be looked at as, you turned Luka into whatever that return winds up being for Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Well, it also, you can take that approach, but also I think it's important to keep the nuance or the context that they would then be positioning themselves pretty well to get another high lottery pick.
Yes.
And that would be a factor. And if they could get back, I mean, if they somehow, some way could get back one of those pieces that they gave up while trying to go all in on the Luka era, like some of their other draft picks, that would be huge for them, because they could really control their destiny for the next few years. Like we were mentioning, they don't have their pick after this one until 31. They do have some swaps and stuff, but they don't have their own natural pick. But I do think that would be huge if they could do something like that. But yeah, I think that context would matter, but certainly, yeah, it would be, fans, at least on a surface level, would say, "Oh, we traded Luka for this, and a bag of chips that we got Anthony Davis," right? Because his value isn't going to be high right now. It's going to be at an all-time low with AD right now. It's just not a great time, in my opinion.
Well, and it's there may not be another, aside from sitting him out and then getting him healthy and then bringing him back and trying to prove to you. But even so, he would have to be on the court and looking really good, I think, for an extended period. We're probably talking about into January for teams, maybe even up to the trade deadline, for teams to say, yeah, this dude is a guy that we feel really comfortable in staying healthy. And even then, that may not be the case, especially if AD does want an extension next summer. Now, again, he's got another year under contract, so that will limit his ability to tell a team, hey, I want a new deal done or else. But has that player option as well. Teams right now are allergic to long-term salaries. I think teams will be interested in AD, but it may be tough finding the right spot.
Is a 35-year-old AD, he's a 35-year-old AD declining that player option? I don't think so, man.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. If I'm being honest with you,
if he has a big 26-27 season, like let's say he plays, let's say best case scenario, he plays, what's the best in his career in terms of games played? 76. Okay. Let's say he plays 73 games, just to throw a random number, 73 games in that season, and he averages 23 and 10 and a couple of blocks. Like that's where he could decline it and take the long-term security. Maybe it's not a full max.
Long-term. Okay.
But if he can get a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal.
Okay. Well, it would have to be for less money, because that's just too much money to be paying AD at that stage of his career. Yeah. I don't necessarily have a problem with the 62, but beyond that, getting an extension for max money into his 35, 36, 30, that's kind of a lot, man. With his concerns, you're setting yourself up for another 5 years of max money to AD. I don't know. And again, I take nothing away from the dude. He is amazing, and he's phenomenal. It's just, I do wonder if he'll be able to stay on the court. In fact, there's a prolonged history of him not being able to. So I would bet against it, unfortunately. So that's a lot of money to sign. Like it very well could be. And it's almost weird to say, because he's such a phenomenal player. Also, he's a MVP, all that, but it almost would look like it has a chance to look like, a few years from now, kind of the situation with Embiid right now.
Oh,
where it's like,
the Embiid comp. That's no bueno.
But like, I don't want to say that to like, talk bad about anybody, because Embiid's also phenomenal, right? He's an MVP, like I was saying. But the reality is, I think him and PG have the two worst contracts in the NBA, especially when you project out, right?
Yeah.
And how much you would expect the return on investment to be. And I don't expect AD with a max salary in 2031 and 2 to be worth that anymore.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kyrie and Klay, who both could find themselves on the move as well. Especially one of them, I think, is going to get traded. We're going to get to that in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. Ever hear the Sleeper app? Here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats. A news feed. This is so important for me. You can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. A real-time chat to allow you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app today. Experience it for yourself. When you use promo code Bulletin, you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And by the way, they do have a phenomenal promo going on right now as well. Free $20 entry. Go check that out. No deposit required. $20 entry for free. Go check them out. Use the link in the description down below, and that promo code is Bulletin. Donnie, did you see this?
I did not.
There was a party, a sparsely attended party in front of the American Airlines Center in Dallas to celebrate Nico being fired. They're wearing
kickback.
Look at the cake. Bring Luka home, the cake says. They're celebrating. I can't play the audio because they used a copyrighted song there, but it was "Celebrate Good Times" was blasting with Nico being.
You think that the bakery had a fun time making this to bring Luka home? Hell yeah!
Look, I'll tell you this: my handwriting is terrible. I could do a better job writing on that. I think one of them.
Oh, stop hating!
I think one of them did that.
Oh my!
That's awful.
You sound like such a hater.
I know. I am a cake snob. Apparently, I didn't even know this about myself. I'm discovering new things here on the fly. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kyrie and Klay, because both of these guys could very well find themselves on the move. In fact, there was a report here in The Athletic that mentioned that the Lakers were a team that was willing to offer Klay Thompson a 4-year, $80 million deal. That was a couple of summers ago when LeBron was willing to take less to get specific players onto the Lakers to open up the mid-level exception. That was, it was Klay Thompson, James Harden. He was willing to take, from my understanding, a little bit less, not the same amount less, to get Jonas Valanciunas as well. That was another option. But the Lakers didn't land any of those guys, and LeBron wound up taking the full amount that he could. Actually, he took like $2 million.
Haircut. I was going to say, you better put some respect on that pay cut. He took a little haircut.
Let's face it, LeBron, who's a billionaire with a capital B, probably did not notice that pay cut at all. But I don't. It's still millions of dollars, right? Yeah. Even if you're a billionaire, millions of dollars still millions of dollars.
Hey man, that would make me for life, man.
Right? I mean, think about that. Think about that. The pay cut that LeBron got would be enough for just about, or that LeBron took would be enough to set just about anybody else for life. If you manage your money properly. Yeah, if you're smart. If you don't go out and buy dumb stuff, then you'll be fine. But Klay Thompson turned down a 4-year, $80 million deal to take a significantly lesser deal with the Dallas Mavericks, a 3-year, $50 million deal with the Mavs, because he wanted to play with Luka. And then ironically, Luka got traded to the Lakers and Klay is still a Dallas Maverick. So it would make sense for Klay to want out of Dallas. He went to Dallas to play with Luka and feast on the shots that Luka was going to create for him. Now Dallas still has Klay on the books. Would have to imagine Klay would not mind a trade somewhere. He's not played particularly well this season. $17 million this year on the books, $17.5 million next year. The question is, Donnie, does Klay have any value to where he can even get to some place that he would want to go?
Not right now. No, not playing the way he's playing. He's going to absolutely need to rebound and start playing more like Klay. You know, the funny thing about that is I'm looking at Klay's stats prior to, frankly, just last season, but especially prior to the Luka trade,
Mm-hmm.
he was very much Klay Thompson. I mean, over that stretch, he averaged 16, 17 points. And then into February, he was still putting up that. January, he was putting up 20 points per game, still shooting very much normal numbers. He does see a 3-point percentage dip post Luka trade, but then he even rebounds. Remember, at the end of the season, he had some big games. He averaged 23 points per game in April on 30 minutes a night.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's just like, 6, 7, 8 months ago at the end of the season, right? So it's still there.
So could a team look? I mean, but the age cliff does come up quick.
Yeah, but I would understand that more for athleticism or for the defense, which is certainly taking a hit. He used to be an all-world defender.
Mm-hmm.
But the shooting from an all-time great shooter, I would say that I think is still there.
So far this season, he's shooting 27% from three. Obviously, that is way below his career averages. He's a 41% career 3-point shooter. He's shooting 31% from the field. How much? This will be the key question for teams as they figure out whether or not they want to trade for Klay. If he was an expiring contract, I would say, yeah, Klay will be on the move. Because he's only got an extra year on the deal, though, and he's shooting so poorly, I question it. But could teams talk themselves into, well, this idea? The Mavs right now have no shot creators. They have the worst offense in the NBA. They've got nobody that can create a look for anybody else. Klay Thompson, his whole career, has thrived by having guys who can create shots for him. Steph Curry, then go to Dallas. He had Luka for a little bit. That's what Klay needs. He just needs a high-level shot creator, and that will allow him to bounce back and be an older Klay Thompson, not the old Klay Thompson, but an older version of Klay Thompson, and not this shell of Klay Thompson that we have right now. Do you see teams talking themselves into that narrative?
Well, he missed a couple seasons in the middle of his career,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, you've got 13 other years of very real proof, and you have proof as recently as last year that he is still able to fill it up in certain situations, at least as a 3-point shooter. There's just no way 26% is real. Even if he fell off a cliff, he's not going to fall off a 41% career average down to 26. There's just no way that's real. And so I do think that there will be some team that could talk themselves into that. He makes roughly $16 million a year. That could be a little bit tricky depending on where you fit him in. But a team that is just a piece away that could use another, like, for example, I don't think they're a piece away, but a team like Orlando could really use the shooting of Klay, although guys go there and apparently can't shoot anymore. Yeah. But they could use the shooting of a guy like Klay. So I could see themselves or certain teams like that talking themselves into trading for him. I think he could have value, especially if he rebounds and some of the stuff normalizes as we get deeper into the season, as I'm saying that it most likely will, because I just don't think he fell off the cliff that badly. 15% is insane. Like, I don't. Yeah.
So is this? 15. But to that point, then, is there potentially, if Klay continues to, I mean, to some degree, struggle? Let's say he goes up to being a 35% 3-point shooter, because I don't see this lasting forever. But let's say by the time we get into trade season, December 15th on, Klay is shooting 35% from three. Is that a buy low opportunity for teams?
It also, it absolutely could be. Because, I mean, to do that, he may mess around and shoot, like, you say you get to the February deadline and he's coming off of January, he shot like 46%. And then you've seen guys do that. We saw guys like Giddey do that like last year, some similar guys. And and I remember you kept praying on the downfall of Vucevic all season, and then he eventually did it.
Praying on the downfall. It wasn't like I was just talking about the math. I didn't want the man to start missing shots. I think he's a lot of fun. But the math said there was no way he was going to be that hot forever.
But I will say, like, I would believe that more with Klay than I would with those guys. Because, again, the track record. But that is a good buy low opportunity for sure. Like you were saying, a team could talk themselves into it and maybe get Klay in a position where the Mavs are willing to move off of him. He's the oldest guy on their roster. They certainly don't need him for the phase they're entering now. And you could say he's the missing piece. We'll give you a first. The Mavs don't have a ton of those because they went all in for the last 6 years or whatever. And maybe you could get him and just steal him away, and he could be very vital to a deep run in the playoffs or something like that.
I don't know if anybody should give up a first for Klay right now.
What if it's like, yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't think about that. What if it's like a super protected swap or something? I don't know.
Can we get Klay back to the Warriors?
No, don't do that.
I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be like go team up with Jimmy and Steph and Draymond?
I mean, the framework he currently has here is less than what he offered them. He offered them 240, and they didn't want 240. So I don't think they'd want, what is this, 236 or something like that? I don't know. 35. I don't know.
So, I don't know. I mean, there'd be some good vibes around that, but there are some teams I think they could talk themselves into.
He should have signed with LA.
He should have then because then if he had just had a little bit of foresight, then Luka would have been coming to join him.
That is so insane.
He went to Dallas to play with Luka. He turned down LA. Luka then went to LA.
So there's several ironies in all of this, like AD being out of shape, this and that. There's so many ironies with this whole situation. But like Klay is just like, dude, you turn this team down to play with this guy and he should get shipped out. But not only does he get shipped out, he gets shipped out to the team you turned down.
By the way, D'Angelo Russell would have been going to the Warriors. Let's not forget that too. The Warriors, in order to get Klay to the Lakers, the Warriors would have been taking back salary. The Mavs had a trade exception, and so they were able to do it without sending back any salary. And the Warriors have already been down the D'Angelo Russell path and didn't want to do that. So that's a factor in that the whole situation as well.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe it doesn't come to fruition. But the funnier part about it is that D'Lo is currently employed by the Mavericks. So he's another, like there's just like this thread connecting all these players.
It's all the same, only the names have changed. That's what it is. We've come full circle. Yeah. Okay. Klay Thompson, I know Lakers fans watching this are going to say, should the Lakers trade for him? Probably not. Because even if you were to even if it was just Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber, just pure expiring salary for Klay, and you give up nothing else, that's then $17 million you have less in flexibility next summer.
Yeah, that's the piece to it. But man, he would be such a flamethrower next to LeBron and Luka and Austin.
Like, I would not trade Rui Hachimura for Klay.
Well, no. I wouldn't do that either. And then you would have maybe a bit of a log jam at that 2-3 area where like Rui's going to wind up playing a lot when LeBron comes back. You've got Jake who wants to get a good number of minutes. Smart will get logged there a bit. Obviously Reeves, like you kind of have a bit of a log jam there if you do that, but he would still be a flamethrower next to a playmaker like Luka.
Jared Vanderbilt, whose contract goes for another year, a year past Klay's, and Dalton Connect for Klay Thompson. I
was so like when I don't
know if the math even works on that.
I was thinking about DK because DK is a guy that like Klay is the archetype for a DK. I mean, technically DK can do a bit more. He could be more of like a, I don't know, 3-level scorer. He's more athletic, things like that, especially than current Klay, right? But just imagine the production that they're hoping to get from DK, but they get it from somebody else, right? So,
I mean, would you let's see? I don't think it will work because I don't think it's enough money coming out from the Lakers side. It would be really close. They're so close to that first apron. Oh my God, it does work. It does work. You know what? It works by like, it's got to be in the like tens of thousands of dollars. Because the Lakers are just barely below the first apron and they're taking on 1.1 million. They're about 1.1 million below the first apron now.
Funny. Well, that also would nuke their last roster spot.
Right. They would, and they would have to sign somebody because they'd be at 14 players too, or they'd be at 13 players after this. And they wouldn't have the room underneath that to sign anybody. So, but let's say theoretically this was possible. Would you do that if you're the Lakers?
I may value Vanderbilt a little bit more personally right now, just because this team doesn't have very much defense.
Right.
And he's still such a legitimate defensive playmaker for this team. He has all of his faults, right? And they're extremely loud faults. I mean, the guy can barely even finish at the basket.
Oh, you see it when you start looking at the film for the Lakers, how teams defend him. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's nasty, man. And I wish JJ would be more creative with his usage of him. He still sticks him in the stupid corner. And the guy he worked on the shot. There was a lot of talk about that, but he's still so scared and hesitant to pull the trigger on that.
0th percentile as a 3-point shooter, I believe. Last I looked on cleaning the glass. He's shooting his worst he shot for the season and continuing to shoot poorly at the rim too.
I think it's gotten worse because he worked on it. It hasn't seen the returns of it. But like I've been saying, that's something that takes a long time. That takes years of exclusively working on that. Like he is just now starting this. So it's going to be a couple years before he really even is able to be an average shooter, probably, if he's even able to hit that. But anyway, this team doesn't have a lot of that. And they're already 23rd in defense, and he plays like 15 minutes a night. Like I'd value that probably a little bit more.
They need to get value wise, you can make an argument for it. In terms of what the Lakers need, they need more defense, not less. For sure. And more athleticism. I mean, you're not going to get that from Klay.
He's like one of the top 5 most athletic players in this roster. I was looking at the athleticism on the Lakers roster, and I was like, dude, who's the most athletic guy? Is it a dude?
It's a dude hero.
It's a dude. It's
the second round pick who hasn't played a game.
That's like not even playing. By the way, the second round of this class is really good. They've all been really good. A lot of them anyway.
Knock on wood. Hopefully a dude is the same.
It's LeBron, it's Bronny, it's Vando.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hayes. That's like it.
Jackson Hayes. Yep.
That's it.
They are not fast. They are not fast. All right. Kyrie potentially could be on the move, but as you mentioned, Dallas Mavericks fans love Kyrie. So do you keep Kyrie just to smooth things over with Mavs fans, or do you wait for Kyrie to get healthy? Hopefully it's early January, and then flip him before the trade deadline along with Anthony Davis in an attempt to go full tank mode?
I think if the offer is sweet enough, you can talk yourself into it. I do think there are concerns about, or questions about how he looks. Mostly, I think he'll be fine because his game is so skill-oriented. I'm not really so concerned about that. It's just the history of these types of injuries, especially on smaller guards. It just sometimes takes them a little bit of time longer than other guys. And that would be something I'd be concerned about. And maybe he needs time to ramp up. Is he in playing shape? Like, is he on a minutes restriction? Like, there's all these different variables. But I think if the offer is good enough, you could pull the trigger on that. But I think otherwise, there's no harm in waiting. It's the fan connection also, but he's also been a great leader, a great mentor for this team so far. And really, I want to just give him a huge shout out. He had a lot of controversy, especially during the Nets days and stuff like that. And I think that he's really brought things full circle in Dallas. And I think that's a big reason why he really resonates with the fan base. So I think that if you're Dumont and you don't have a lot of fan support right now, trading Kyrie is probably not the first thing on your list to do. So that's where I think that, again, you can maybe sit on it a little bit longer.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to make that move right now. And especially if you are trying to tank with him coming back from injury, you could always say, well, Kyrie, here it is mid to end of January. You're starting to ramp up. The All-Star break's not that far away. Let's get you fully healthy, and you can wait till then. And then, by the time you get him back out there on the floor, maybe you look to move him over the summer or something. But yeah, it's nothing that you have to rush into with Kyrie Irving. Anthony Davis, on the other hand, man, I expect the bidding to open up, if it hasn't already, certainly by the time NBA trade season gets going. I expect them to be very seriously looking at Anthony Davis trades and him moving on yet again.
Yeah, I think that's something that's immediately going to start happening. In terms of, that doesn't mean they'll pull the trigger, but they'll absolutely listen.
Yeah, as they should. They should. All right, everybody, give us your thoughts. Where will Anthony Davis wind up? Klay Thompson, should teams have interest in him, or is he #washed? And what about Kyrie Irving? Should the Mavs keep him in order to give Mavs fans somebody that they like, that they can cheer for, or should they look to move him too and burn the whole thing down and rebuild around Cooper Flag? Give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Till next time, everybody, see ya and stay safe.